November. We have the recording going. Okay, so we're going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all stand, please. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're excited to see you again. Just to outline how we're going to do things today, right? So we'll just roll through our normal agenda of adopting the agenda. We'll approve the October minutes, and then we're going to walk you through some announcements, but we're also going to talk to you a little bit about what we've accomplished. We've now been in leadership for 6 months. We're excited to demonstrate how hard we've been working and what we've accomplished. And then we're going to talk through the strategy as we go into 2026 and creating the blue wave here in Utah County. Okay, so to begin, sorry, no, oh, I thought I heard something. Okay, so our first item of business here, right, is to approve the minutes from our October 2022 meeting. The minutes were made available to all Central Committee members. And are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay. If there are no corrections, the minutes stand approved as presented. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's start with some announcements here. So Ethan, can you stand up? So Ethan Howell here is our new parliamentarian. So if you weren't aware, we had a resignation of our vice chair. Matt is our new vice chair. He was voted in last month, and Ethan volunteered to become our parliamentarian and was approved by the executive committee. Ethan, I don't know if you have anything that you want to say really quick. All right, thanks. I will say, as a chair, it's exciting that when we put out a call for volunteers, we get answers. So thank you for those that have volunteered and showed up. We're really building a party quickly. So I'm excited for our future. Next, we have Jake Lamoureux. Jake, do you want to stand real quick? So he's going to be our deputy of candidate recruitment. So he's going to be overseeing that team. Thanks, Jake. I don't know if you have anything. Same thing, right? So Jake's role is going to, he's going to be the deputy reporting to me, overseeing our candidate recruitment and support, and he's going to be interfacing with the state party to help coordinate with Terry and with others, right? So you'll see this from the state, like they're just as excited as we are in terms of like really building success down ballot, especially outside of Salt Lake County. So they're a significant push on candidate recruitment, and Jake's helping us coordinate with the state level on that. Okay, just by way of announcement, we're not going to have a central committee meeting next month. Instead, we're going to be focusing on candidate recruitment, and we'll outline how we're going to do that. And then, just to put on your calendars, March 17th of next year, St. Patrick's Day, we're going to have our caucus night. So we're developing a plan to have several caucuses throughout the county so that they're close to you and available. And that's going to be the chance to work through electing candidates, but also local leadership as well. Okay. All right. So by way of report, so my report here, like I mentioned before, we've now been in leadership for 6 months. We were elected at the end of May. I jumped into this race, I think for many of us, obviously being very alarmed at the election of Donald Trump and seeing his disdain for the Constitution and just having the values that are often shared in Utah here, I had to get to work. I have to say, like, the team that was elected with me is phenomenal. I can't speak more highly of Karen, of Matt, of Chris, Ethan, right, of all these people that have been working with me. We are transforming the party. We are trying to build a party that is deeply embedded at the local level, and that is going to transform our understanding of political parties in Utah and in the United States, hopefully more generally, right? So one thing that we've been doing, right, our first steps, right, we've changed our brand a little bit, as you can can see here, right? Like we've done good work there. We've been working really hard to get more and more data, and we've had a lot of help from the state on that end of things. So just changing our mission to focus on identifying individuals throughout the county and trying to link up with them. We're trying to make our central committee meetings monthly, public, and open. And as you'll see today, we're starting to build down from there, right? Like our next step is now to start doing this at the House district level, right? So that the party isn't just the executive committee that is occasionally interfacing with the central committee. We're going to bring the party to Eagle Mountain. We're going to bring the party to Springville. We're going to bring the party to Alpine and those different areas, right? So one of the goals that I had when I was elected and that we did is we amended our constitution where we have created what are called functional groups. These are going to be focused on kind of key sectors of civil society to try to mobilize them. So we're still trying to recruit those, but we need to kind of update the foundation with House districts first to then empower those functional groups, right? Like we want those functional groups to be able to go to a region of Utah County, mobilize young adults or teachers or what have you, but we can do that through our House districts and be more effective in that way. One thing that we're really proud of and that you'll see the fruits from when Chris gives his report is we have started a membership program. So when we took over, financially, we had some income, but it was largely just one-off big donations from people or a handful of small donations. So we've created our membership program, and we've had several people sign up, and that has just created a constant revenue stream for us. So financially, we're in a much better situation than we were 6 months ago. And this is really exciting because it's going to allow us to keep on building. Every time we host events, we get a few more members, right? Which allows us to then expand from there, right? So it's step by step. We're going from a party that was wholly reliant on just a handful of people to a party that's actually a real political party, right? Like with lots of people involved, members that are contributing both through volunteer work and through financial donations. Lots of people here are volunteers, right? So if you look around the room, you'll see familiar faces. We have so many volunteers. We'll talk in detail about some of these more. But we cannot express enough thanks to you that have volunteered for the party. The previous leadership of the party, you could just tell that they were just burned out. And I think that was because everything was just falling on their shoulders. And so we really do thank all of you who volunteer in very different capacities. It helps us as an executive committee really build out and bring more people in the party. So I actually want to give a round of applause to our volunteers. So thank you so much for what you're doing for us. Okay. We're recruiting and training new House district leadership. And a lot of this is actually going through our House district coordinator. So if you can stand up. So we have 3 of our House district coordinators here. So these are our new House district coordinators. Thank you. We'll give a little bit more on them later. But each of them is overseeing a portfolio of 4 House districts. And they have gone out and knocked on doors, sent text messages, phone number, and been calling people to try to bring people into these House districts. So cannot thank you enough for the hard work that you're doing there. Another thing that we wanted to point out is with coordination of local activist groups, we were able to mobilize several hundred people within 24 hours to show up at the Utah County Commission's meeting and protest or express disapproval of the county's move to create a memo of cooperation with ICE, right? Commission still passed it, right? But I think they were blown away by how many people showed up. By trying to sneak in an agenda item, people showed up, and you could see it wasn't just the Democratic Party or just Indivisible doing it. Like, this is contrary to the values that we hold broadly in Utah County, right? Like, this is a home for immigrants. And we have people outside of the party that share that. So really exciting to see what we're doing. The No Kings protests was extremely successful as well. I must admit, when I was at BYU as a student 15 some odd years ago, if you would have told me that there was a protest of 4,000 to 6,000 people in Provo, I would have called you insane, right? Like to see the level of organization that's happening here in Utah County is really exciting. And to see people really express a love for the Constitution, a love for our neighbors as well. Another thing that we've done in these 6 months, right, is we've established our constituent relationship manager, a CRM. So this is going to allow us to use records of members, of voters, and put it all into one system where we can track all our interactions with members of the party, but also we can text from it, we can send emails from it, and we can track all of that communication and really target our work down to the precinct level. So this is a huge boon for us as a party, and you'll see how this is working within the next month. Okay. And lastly, do work with Chris and Karen. Right, they have been reaching out to our identity caucuses and trying to strengthen and support them. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn time over to Chris, who can kind of talk to you about specialist work here. So
that'll work, right?
Yeah.
I don't need all this. Oh, good. Okay, so very briefly, I just wanted to highlight what has happened since we introduced the membership program. Within the last 2 months, we've already matched all of the number of recurring donations that the party had received in the previous 9 months before that. So keep in mind, this is right after the election, so maybe donations are a little bit down, but still you can see this giant 4 times increase when we introduced this program in August. And like Darin was saying, this has allowed us to start bringing in the revenue that's needed to then immediately turn it around and start building more here in Utah County. It allows us to rent out space for different meetings we may have to support our functional groups, in the future possibly our House District committees, if there are meetings or events that we want to host at even more of a local level. And just a brief talk about what this program is, just the very basic structure here. We're calling it the Elevating Democracy program or membership, and there's 4 tiers that you can sign up for. Each come with a few different perks, like some of our stickers and water bottles, things like that. And there will be more forthcoming. We are still actively building this. The one thing I did want to highlight is this lowest tier. We're calling the Kiev Peak tier. It's at $4 a month, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, because students and other demographics may not be able to afford some of these larger donations per month. And for another, if for any reason someone doesn't want to be on a public disclosure that I submit to the Lieutenant Governor's office, if you donate less than $50 in a year to a political party, you don't go on that system. You're just an aggregate number that was contributed by anonymous sources, and that's totally legitimate. So if, say, for example, you are looking to run for any kind of office and you're not quite ready to put the big capital letter D next to your name, this is one way you can still support the local party, help run those events here locally, but you're not necessarily going on that public record. That's basically it. I, again, just want to thank everyone that has already signed up. This is, like you can see, a huge increase from what was happening previously over the several months before that, and we've been steadily going up since. We're hoping today is another banner day where maybe we can see another big jump like that somewhere up there in the month of November and December. Again, we turn that right around and say, okay, how can we support local communities? How can we organize our House District groups, our functional groups? What can we do to support our identity caucuses? Anyone that's looking to host events, to build community, to support anyone in need. This is what this is all building towards. So that is the extent of what I wanted to go over, and I will hand it back over.
So just an example of what we're doing with the membership fund. So like to send out a text message costs a few cents, right? So membership funds will allow us to directly contact thousands of people simultaneously, right? So we'll use funds for that. We've actually used this money to purchase the CRM, right, which allows us to be more data driven and wiser with the information we have. But also some smaller examples of what we're doing here is we use this to donate to causes that we believe in, right? To demonstrate like that the Democratic Party is interested in these more progressive or liberal causes, right? So using funds for that. We have some candidates here, right, that are running for office. Using these funds, we can rent out space, right, so that candidates can come before the primary, work together, appeal to voters, and start to build up that base really early on. So those are just some examples of how we're using the money that we're getting from membership, in addition to what we really hope to next year is like really be the backbone of the candidates up and down the county. Okay, so given that situation, this is what allows us to now make the next step. And we want to walk you through our strategy in the next month, 2 months, and towards November 2026, right? There's this idea of Bluetooth, right? A lot of people are excited up in Salt Lake County because they got their map, right? But Bluetooth runs through Utah County, right? We have 16 House districts here. We're the second largest county in the state. We are the fastest growing county in the state and one of the fastest growing counties in the nation, right? We can transform Utah County, and it's through Utah County that we're really going to be able to break that supermajority in the Utah legislature, and not just hope that the court in Utah backs up better maps, but actually get people who can vote for better maps in the Utah legislature. So that comes through us, and we want to walk you through the plan about how we think we can do this, right? So first off, you should be really excited. If you paid attention to the election nearly 2 weeks ago, right, we saw Democrats run rapid, right? Like they just absolutely destroyed the Republican Party. And this isn't just a November thing. This has been happening ever since Donald Trump got reelected. I think a lot of people were a little apathetic after he lost and then Biden came in. And then once he came back in power, we saw people wake up. So this is a map that just or a graph that just shows you the average swing in special elections since Donald Trump was elected. The average swing is about 13 points towards Democrats. And that's just average. There have been some swings of 50% or greater. Now, I don't know how plugged in you are on elections. It's like what I obsess about. But there's a special election in Tennessee in about 2 weeks. It's a Trump plus 40, and the Republicans are dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into this race because they're losing it. So to give you a sense of just how I think angry Americans are, right? That's to give you a sense. So we have several districts here that are ripe for the taking, right? So if we're thinking that the average swing is 13%, but it can go greater, we have to work to push that beyond that 13%, and we can flip seats here in Utah County. So if you're sticking around for lunch, you're going to hear Dr. Jake Rugh talk about this. He'll give you the details about like the demographic shifts. He's going to show you a lot of where this is happening. I live in Provo. We just ousted a MAGA incumbent, right? The party didn't do it, but like Provo did, right? So obviously voters are highly dissatisfied, right? We had more progressive people running for office throughout the county and win, right? So a colleague of mine at BYU, Quinn Meekum, he finished top of his race in running for the city council in Orem, which is remarkable. Orem is still very, in terms of like the last election, very red, but he was able to win that election. And we're going to learn from these candidates and see how they succeeded and build better election or better candidates here in Utah County. Okay, so I don't think you guys need to be convinced of this, but Donald Trump is quite unpopular. It might be breaking news to you, right? So he just, in the average of the polls, right, just dipped below 40% approval, which is absolutely remarkable for someone who's been in office for 10 months max, right? People are abandoning him and his support, right? They really thought that his acumen and as a businessman was going to do something. They are now being hit in the face, right, with the results of tariffs, bad tax policy, and just the chaos around him, right? But I think it extends beyond Trump, right? Like this is not just about Trump. The Republican Party in Utah is also becoming more unpopular, right? You have a lot of centrist people here in Utah and Utah County that have been voting for Republicans their whole life, and they're just getting sick of it, right? Especially around Prop 4 and redistricting. Like the number of people that I talk to who have always been Republicans, they've been Republican precinct chairs, they're just angry, right? They don't like what the party's doing in trying to gerrymander. I think gerrymandering is one of these issues that appeals broadly, and people understand that we should choose our elected officials, they shouldn't choose their voters, right? So this is going to be an area where we can hit really hard, because most of the representatives in Utah County voted in favor of these gerrymandered maps, right? And we can run on this idea that we want better maps, but we also want to hold leaders accountable. Just to give you a sense of this, the GOP, they know that this is unpopular, right? They lost in the court. They considered the initiative where they would have to pass a law to get a ballot initiative started, but then there would have to be a quick election afterwards, right? And they probably knew they would lose an election that was only about maps, right? So what are they doing instead? They're going to gather some signatures and try to put it on the ballot during a larger election where more Republicans are going to show up. But I think they're going to be pretty shocked in November of 2026, especially when Democrats come out to vote against Prop 4 and for new leadership, right? So I think we should be excited. We have a chance here in Utah County to really build a new form of politics, and to really show that Utahns can back Democrats, okay? And I think one example of how this is possible is by looking at Virginia. So I lived in Virginia for a little bit, and it was deeply, deeply red for a long time. So if we look in 2013, right? So that's actually when I moved to Virginia. And the GOP controlled 67% of their assembly seats, right? Pretty familiar for us here in Utah, right? A super majority there. In about 12 years, Dems have now flipped so many seats that they control 64 out of 100 seats, right? And if you've ever been to Virginia or you know Virginia, it's red in the rural areas, like deeply, deeply red, right? But it shares a lot of characteristics with Utah that this should be our model, right? One, it is highly educated, right? So we have great universities in Utah. We have BYU and UVU here in the county. University of Utah, as much as this is going to pay me to say, it's great university. Hey, let's go Cougs. And then Utah State and Utah Tech, right? So Utah has, for its whole time that it's been around, has invested deeply in higher education. So a highly educated population. And this is one reason why we've seen Utah more resistant to MAGA, right? Even conservatives here. We have highly educated conservatives that don't like MAGA. Virginia is in the same boat, right? And sorry, what we can see, it's a bit harder on the text here, right? The shifts in Virginia should get us very excited, right? So unsurprisingly, women have shifted heavily towards Democrats ever since the last election. But if we look at like the young voters, right? Utah is a very young state. Utah County is a very young county in Utah, right? One of the youngest counties around. So if you looked at Virginia, the under 30 support for Trump was at -20. And in the last election towards the Republican Party, -30, right? So as a professor at a university, I can tell you, people that age really do not like Donald Trump. Like I had people coming to class in 2014 in a MAGA hat that now hate Donald Trump, right? They were not aware of the lies that he was selling, right? They didn't realize that this guy would come and destroy the economy and make it hard for them to get a job after graduating from college, right? So high levels of dissatisfaction. Obviously, some of that's also going to be very much related to housing prices, just the difficulty of getting the great life that our parents and grandparents had, okay? So, and also another note here that's going to be of particular interest in Utah County, we have a very large Hispanic and Latino population. They have shifted dramatically against the Republican Party as well, right? So one of those things where Republicans invested for years to try to outreach to Latinos, especially because many are conservative Catholics, right? And a lot of those Latinos weren't buying the message from the Democratic Party that, hey, Republicans want to do deportations. That's now indisputable, right? So we want to definitely tap into our Hispanic and Latino communities here in Utah County and help, one, defend them and protect them, but also hope that we can bring them into the party. Okay, so what's to be done? A lot. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. We have a lot of work to do. So these are results from the 2022 election here in Utah County. My baseline is 2022 because this is going to be the most similar election to 26, right? Without a presidential election, turnout is going to be much lower, right? So a lot of people that would vote in a presidential election, especially for Republicans, are not going to turn out, right? So we want to think, what's our baseline that we're trying to get to? And I think the red should, I use red as a scary color. We only ran 4 candidates out of 16 House districts in 2022. That is inexcusable, and we're going to change that, right? In some of these House districts, there wasn't even like the forward party or anything like this. So this is our first step, is to get candidates into every single one of these seats, right? We're going to recruit people. Now, they're not going to win every single race, but then it builds to the next race, right? We're going to be able to build connections, relationships with voters. We're going to show them what a Democrat is, right? Because a lot of these people in these House districts, they've never seen a Democrat that's a Utahn, right? They might have heard of Ben McAdams, right? But Ben McAdams isn't coming to Utah County anytime soon, okay? So we want to be able to recruit people that live here, that understand Utah County, and that will go out and knock doors and meet with their constituents and begin to show people that Democrats share the same values as them, right? So we have these 16 House districts that we're recruiting for. We have a couple state Senate seats in the county that are up for election, okay? But also, we need people to run for elections in our state Board of Education. I believe we have 1 seat in the county for that. We have 2 county commissioners up for re-election, and they're not very popular right now because of their relationship with ICE, right? So we can replace 2 out of the 3 commissioners, and you can imagine what we can do at the county level the second that we flip those. We have our auditor, our attorney is up for election, but what I think is most important here is our sheriff and our clerk, right? So a lot of people ignore the sheriff elections. Sheriff elections are one of the most uncontested elections in the United States. And these are the people that run your prisons. They're the ones that are going to decide whether or not you cooperate with the federal government, with ICE. They have a lot of power over how the law is enforced, right? So if we want a more progressive, liberal county, right, we got to focus on our sheriff and try to flip that seat. And I've not met anybody yet who likes our clerk. He is an election denier. He intentionally tries to misinform our citizens. He tried this on the last election where he, well, on the ballot said that you needed the last 4 of your social along with a signature, and then he had to put out announcements like, oh, sorry, that's not true, right? He claimed ignorance. I doubt it was ignorance, right? So these are all the seats that we have coming up, and we're going to walk through how we're going to do this, okay? How we're going to flip a bunch of these seats. So one thing that we established under new leadership, so this is a thank you to Mark Mumford if he's on the call. So he resigned as our vice chair, but before he left, he started what is called our candidate recruitment and support team. Okay, so this is a team that is developed specifically reporting to the executive committee. And our goal here, the primary goal that I think a party should do is reduce the cost of running for office, right? That's what parties are supposed to do, is support candidates. So how do we reduce these costs, right? Well, we help coordinate mobilization across our 16 districts. Okay, so I'm looking at people who have already filed to run in our House districts. it does no good if they're operating in a silo, right? Like even though they're targeting one House district, does them no good if they have to fundraise only in their House district, if they only have to try to find someone who's their campaign manager, their communications manager, and they just stay in their House district, right? The party should be at the backbone of that and giving them support, okay? So while we're going to remain neutral through primaries and the nomination conventions, the second that we have our candidates locked in, we're going to have a party that's ready to back our candidates and really push hard and coordinate across these 16 districts, right? And we're going to pool resources. So we can receive volunteers that then we can target towards our House district candidates. We can provide training, right? So this is one thing that I've had conversations with those that are affiliated with the Democratic Party that have won office recently in Provo and Orem, is they're going to help train our candidates, right? Like how to speak Utah, like how to like use the right phrases to communicate with their constituency, how to file, how to do disclosures, how to do digital ads, right? We're going to learn lessons from the people that lost and lessons from those that won, and understand how they were able to convince Utahns that they can vote for progressive candidates, right? And then one nice thing here is we have a communications team that's going to operate under Matt and Jay Allen, that we will communicate on behalf of these candidates as well, right? We are not going to just promote a general party line, but we are going to highlight our candidates and push our resources to back them, right? Same with fundraising and the research that we're going to have. We just had a conversation with the state party, and I'm excited for more information that we can get to me or Jake Rugh and others, that we can kind of break down precinct by precinct demographics and voting records. Okay, so how is this organized? I'm the principal for our candidate recruitment and support. So if you have questions, you can come to me. I'm going to be one of the primary points of contact for the state, but also this is where Jake comes in really handy, right? So there's a lot of elections going on, and there's a lot of emails in my inbox from the state. I apologize for taking so long to respond to those. But Jake is really helping alleviate that burden on me and communicating with the state, right? And so he will help that flow of information be more streamlined and more direct from the state down to our candidates, right? So when the state gives us something, they'll go to Jake. Jake will pass that on. We have other people in the room that are helping on different areas with like candidate intake, training, strategy, and things like that, right? So the goal of this team is going to be able to distribute information that the EC, our executive committee, has, and pass that down to our House districts and those candidates. But also we want our House districts communicating to each other, right? So this is where we're going to have our organization here. There's a lot of arrows, but basically it just means there's a lot of coordination, right? So you can see here, like someone's running for office, we'll become aware of them. We're going to talk to them about the resources that we can provide and then provide training. But then we're going to have these different teams that are focused on providing support to them, and we will directly coordinate with their campaign managers and their campaigns, right? So the goal here is that the party is really backing candidates, not just a brand, but work, right? That if someone comes to us and says like, hey, like I want to send out this message, right? We have our comms team craft a message. We use all our comms channels to then distribute that message, right? This is something that we can do and that we can bear a lot of these costs that then don't have to be imposed on the candidates, right? We can fundraise well, we can do text messaging. We have that capacity all built in already. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? For our candidates, that they can come to us, we can then do that work for them and campaign. And then the nice thing is we will learn what they're doing to succeed and communicate that to other candidates as well, right? So the whole goal of a primary race and these campaigns is for us to learn and become better at this, and then not just let that information wither away and die, but to gather it into the party and then point this towards other candidates and help them learn and succeed as well. Okay, so a lot of this is going through our House district coordinators, right, who we've previously introduced, right? So we have Allison, Debbie, and Laurel. So if you are a House district chair, this is your point of contact. They've been doing a lot of hard work helping coordinate the executive committee with our House district committees. So what they do is they help identify our House District Committees, who's active and who's inactive, identify replacements if needed, but also when the Executive Committee wants to do something, we pass it on to them and they get to work. And I've seen this in action and they're doing a remarkable job, right? To see them say like, hey, we need to contact, they went out and knocked doors, right? To try to find people. That's the type of excitement that they have and the hard work that they're doing, right? And ultimately the goal here is to not just have our House districts operating alone, right? But to really tie them and enmesh them with the Executive Committee so that when we target an area, we go fast, right? We are looking for one more House District Coordinator. So we are looking for a district coordinator in House Districts 50 through 53. This is on the west side of the lake. So this is Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, and that area. Right, so we would appreciate if someone could volunteer to be the House District Coordinator. You can talk to the other ones here to see kind of like what the workload has been like, the support that they're getting from us, right? So they can actually give you the real pitch, not the one that just the one that I alone am going to say, right? But what this helps do is help us build this pyramid that really reaches down to our local level. And then in the next month or so, we're going to be working with our House District Coordinators, House District Committees, to really build our grassroots party. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We think that we can really build the blue wave here, and what we're going to do is leverage the new capacity that we built as a party. Okay, so we are quickly expanding our direct communication capacity. When we took over, we had 150 emails. We then worked with the state, and now we have over 3,000 emails. So again, thank you, Jade, Olivia, for your help there. So that dramatically increases the number of people that we're communicating with for our events, and we're building a phone list, right? So about 17,000 numbers that we're gathering, right? That we're going to be able to text and communicate with, call people, and really get moving. So think about what we've done in 6 months. We're now accelerating that because before, we were only communicating with the most tuned in people, right? Now, there's a lot of people who don't know how to access the Democratic Party of Utah. We're going to reach them and teach them how to access the Democratic Party of Utah, right? And really bring them into the party. I will say, like, this has been a huge focus because as background, like my research as a political scientist is on political parties. I've literally just flown to other countries and found political parties and started to talk to them. Like, you give me 2 weeks in Jakarta, Indonesia, I could find a party and go talk to them. I could not find the Democratic Party of Utah County when I moved here. That is something that we're going to fix, and we're going to be highly visible and accessible, right? So that when people email us, we respond. And we create multiple avenues for people to come in contact with us. We want people not to know that there's a Democratic Party, but to see the Democratic Party, to see their neighbor as a Democrat, right? Because that removes that national brand. I think everyone in this room will be sensible enough to understand that the national brand is not going to win an election here in Utah County, right? But if you go and talk to your neighbor, you go to church, you work at your school, and you learn that someone's a Democrat, you're like, oh, I like that person, and I share values with them, that makes it more accessible, like easier to see the Democratic Party as a party that deserves and can earn the trust of Utahns. Okay? So we're going to go really local. What we want to do is be able to contact the majority of our registered Dems and then host House District events, right? Rather than trying to have one central committee meeting every month and hope that lots of people come here, right? It's a big county, all right? Like if we host a county a meeting in North Lehigh, people from Springville, that's quite a bit of travel, especially if you're coming from Eagle Mountain, right? Or Saratoga Springs. If you've ever had to drive on Pioneer Crossing in the evening, you hate your life, right? So we want to be able to build the local infrastructure so that we can have the House District Committees and coordinators in Eagle Mountain host the meetings there, right? And bring the Democratic Party to the people where they live, okay? And again, goal here is to really back up our candidates. So if possible, we would love to have volunteers so that our House District Coordinator for Eagle Mountain in that area, but also we need someone to help manage our campaign managers, right? So we need a coordinator there. And then we'll just look for people who want to be campaign managers. So if you've ever had any experience on a campaign, or if it's something that you want to do, again, please volunteer. So this will help reduce the cost so that when we go, we're going to be calling people and say, like, hey, will you run for office? And like, I've never ran for office. And we say, good, we can help you, right? Like, you don't have to think about finding a campaign manager. We've got one for you, right? Don't worry about communications. We've got that for you, right? We need you to run, right? We're bearing the costs. All right. So what does this look like? So from today, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to start building up local teams. What we need help doing is identifying locations and hosts for what we're calling our Neighbors and New Leaders Night. Basically, what you'll see here is the first 2 weeks of December, before people are kind of checking out for Christmas, we want to be able to host a meeting in every single house district. So we need to figure out where to do that, right? So Mike J had a great idea in a meeting. He said, like, why don't you use HOAs, right? Like, we were thinking about spending money on schools. HOAs are cheaper or free, right? So we want to try to use that idea. Sorry. Your idea. Okay, we love the idea. Thank you. Right, so we could use local HOAs, and we need people to help host these. We'll provide training about what we're going to do, but we just need a local link to that area, right? We'll have it be like, we'll have like a social aspect of it as well, but a lot of this is going to be geared towards recruiting candidates, right? So we want to identify these locations, and then right after Thanksgiving, have these organized, and then I will provide training for what to do, right? So this will likely be on Zoom. We'll walk through some different strategies, think through how to reach out to people, how to organize, and how to run it, okay? And then as the county party, we will communicate to all the people that we have information for. So if you sign up as a team leader here, you don't have to do the communication. We will do the communication, right? We just need someone who can be present, organize, and help run it. We will do the heavy lifting of texting and calling and emailing people, okay? So what is this going to look like? Starting in December, we have our 16 house districts. Over those 2 weeks, we want an event in every single district, right? So to let you know, the state has forwarded us leads on potential candidates. And when we say scores here, it's not like a score of how democratic they are. It's literally like the numerical like scores. Like I pulled up my house district, and I think it was 54 leads, right? So that's a lot of people for me to call. So we need help texting and calling these people, right? So we have a lot of potential leads of people to reach out to and ask to see if they want to run. And we really do feel like a personal outreach is going to be more effective, right? Like, we can send an email or a mass text asking them to run. We're going to get a lot of non-responses, but to hear someone's voice and be able to talk and ask questions, that's where we think that we can be far more effective. And we can be like, hey, I live down the road from you, right? That's going to be far more effective than like, hey, yes, I live 45 minutes away from you because I'm in Provo and I can't get to Eagle Mountain easily, right? And so those teams will then also coordinate with our candidate recruitment and support to then get those interested candidates more information, and then training on how to file, right? So one of the issues that we have is the legislature moved up the filing deadline, right? It's January 8th. Yeah, so a whole 6 days. Thank you, Utah legislature, right? They're really interested in that. So I guess January 8th is our deadline, right? So this is a pretty compressed timeline, and this is why we need to be able to provide a lot of support to people who are thinking about running, right? Likely, they're going to be running for the first time. So we want to help them not be intimidated and really give them these resources, okay? And then after that, we're going to move on to the primary or the caucuses, and we can have more time to work on that, right? So what I want you to do right now is I want you to volunteer if you live here in Utah County, right? So if you're interested in hosting, you can scan this QR code. So we need to find somebody in every single house district to host. And then we need people, if you're not willing to host, to just be willing to come, right? And call or text 5 people, right? Like, this is kind of what we're looking for, is if we have enough hands working on it, it's going to be light work. Also, if you know somebody, you can also forward them this as well, right? So please help us identify where we're going to do that. Like just an example, I'm going to host the House District 61, right? So we've got one down. We got 15 more to go. So please help us out. We're excited to see just what we can do here to reinforce here. Like over the past 6 months, we've been really invested in building this party. And it's in these intense moments, right? They're actually quite stressful, but in intense moments, you build quickly and you build effectively, right? So just hosting this meeting, we had to really just bear down and really focus on getting our communication, and it built better relationships with the state party, and it helped us to really streamline a lot of the processes that we were taking longer to develop. We developed them a lot faster, right? So don't be scared about this. Get excited about this chance to build a much stronger party here. This is how we do it, and we're going to succeed. Okay? So our timeline here. Obviously, working from today, in the next 2 weeks, we want to be able to nail down a host and a location for all 16 of our House districts. In the 2 weeks that follow, we're going to recruit these candidates and help them file for their campaign by January 8th. So scratch that 5, it's an 8. Okay. March 17th is our caucus night. So that's when we're going to host the party caucus. We're going to elect precinct chairs, but also have a chance to coordinate, right? And then in May and June, we have our nominating convention or the primaries if necessary. So as you can see, a lot of work in the next month and a half. And then we get some time to like really let these candidates build experience, build their campaigns, learn from what's succeeding, what's not succeeding, pass that to other people. Once the primaries are done, then we're going all in, right? Because we got November 3rd, we're going to make some inroads here in Utah County. Yeah. Okay, so nominating convention. Okay, so nominating convention in April. Great. So I get to help organize caucus nights in March and then nominating conventions in April. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thanks. Woo! Love it. All right. The June 30th is still the primary though, right? Like, is it announced and then it goes, and then it goes in August usually, right? Okay. Summerish, right? We'll get there. Okay. And then you'll see us that once we have our candidates nominated and official, you are going to see us work really hard to back them and flip seats, right? Okay. So with that, we have a few minutes if there are any questions or answers or questions that I can answer. Yeah.
I volunteer phone for one of your lists.
Okay. So
Not
you're not from Utah County? Okay. How do we want to handle that, Karen? She's not in Utah County, but she wants to help volunteer calling. Yeah. So if you go to our website, so utahcountydems.com, there's a volunteer tab. So if you just put your information in there and say what you want to do, we can then reach out to you, and you can help us work with coordinating and calling people. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, different one. This one? Yeah. Yeah, no other questions? All right. I guess either you're bored of me or I did an effective job communicating. So these QR codes, like will we put them on the website? That's a great idea. We can do that, right? Oh, so for Zoom, will these QR codes be made available publicly? Absolutely. We can definitely put them out on social media. We can put them on the website, right? I don't work on the website, but I'm assuming it's not too difficult to put them up on the front page. Okay.
Yeah, we'll send out. We'll probably send out a blast all the jobs we have for a call to action.
Yeah.
So working on that right now.
Yeah, thanks for that idea. Great. Yeah, other ideas, actually. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I cannot actually tell you, like, I'm really excited to do this. And this is, I think, a once in a lifetime opportunity to build a deep party here. Right? Like, I was talking to some people that had been working in the county party in like 2008, 2012, and they talked about how they got the ball rolling, but then Mitt Romney happened. Right? This is like the inverse of that. Right? Like, we're not going against Mitt Romney, who was going to run up 80% like down ticket votes here, right? Like, people are looking to jump ship from the Republican Party. We have a lot of people. The Brian has talked about this. The people who vote Democratic but registered Republican, right? This is the chance to make them Democrats, right? To help them realize there's a party that can win power here, so there's no reason to go caucus there, right? At the No Kings protest, talked to lots of people like that. I have colleagues like that they're still like a Republican precinct captain because they think that it helps them keep that party sane. And then you can just see it in their face, like when they say they're like, yeah, it's not really working, right? But they don't take this party as seriously, right? Because when you go to a caucus night and there's one person from your precinct, right? So that's what we've got to change. We have to build grassroots and show people that there are Democrats, they're mobilized, they're excited, and bring more people on board. And that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
About how many people signed for this?
How many people signed the lists at No Kings? It was a big list. Okay, so 70 email addresses, 8 volunteers, and new members, right? So, and if you were at the No Kings protest, we were in a corner, right? Like away from the protest. So that is exciting. So all these things that we're doing to get exposure are being more effective, right? Like, you look around and we have volunteers here. Great work by Karen. Like, seriously, Karen is a machine. So please give it up for Karen. Like, she talks about, like, she now has her army of volunteers, and I love it. I'm like, hey, I need some help on this. She's like, I got volunteers for. I'm like, phenomenal, right? Like, this is just phenomenal work. I cannot tell you just how savvy these people that I'm working with. Okay. As we close and start to shift toward lunch, what we want to make you aware of. So we have a taco dinner fundraiser tonight with Shasti from the DNC. So she's right over here, right? So this is a chance to come eat tacos. That should be good enough for you, right? But it's a chance to help bring some financial resources to the state and county party. We appreciate the help from the party that helped organize this. This is their awesome little graphic that they created for us, our little taco guy. We love it. So this is going to be a chance, especially the goal here and why we're excited to have Shasti here is Utah County. Obviously, we have 2 very large universities. We want to tap into that resource and organize them, right? So BYU has a Democratic chapter. Been trying to reach out to them, but we want to build better coordination. Again, things that would have shocked me when I was there. Their opening social had like 150 people, right, at BYU. That's remarkable, right? UVU, they're self-organizing, right? So we want to be able to reach out to them. Young County, we need to be able to organize the youth. Jake might talk about this in his dinner, so sorry if I spoiled this for him. If you look at the precinct maps that Marcia Judkins won and how she flipped the city, she did well in West Provo, which is where she's from, which is heavily Republican, so props to her for that. But BYU, the ring around BYU was enormous. And I talked to her, she had an army of student volunteers, right? So there are tons of people at these universities that are highly dissatisfied with democracy. They want to be engaged. We need to organize them and tap into that resource. So that's what we're going to be trying to do here with our taco night. So please come and advertise if you know people in that age demographic. Okay. And then, yeah. Okay. So what is Utah County's message? The message is that Utah values are democratic values, right? We love our neighbor, right? We can develop a unified message, right? But what we ran on, what I ran on as chair is we might use different words. We might talk about social justice or loving your neighbor. It's the same thing, right? So we are the party of love for your neighbor. We love the immigrant. We love the poor. We work to help those people, right? That is what a Utah value is. And so we need to be able to effectively show people that the Republican Party is not that, right? That's like, if you, those are your values and you want to see a party reflect that, it's the Democratic Party.
Top line, democratic values are Utah values.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So just like, yeah, but this is the thing, is like, you just have to know who you're talking to, right? Like, it might, like, if I'm around a bunch of other people from outside of Utah and we talk about social justice, right? But then when I come to BYU, I'm talking to my students, I'm talking to other people, it is Matthew 24, right? And those types of things, like, love our neighbor. Well, this is what the whole goal of like coordinating across campaigns is, and what we're trying to do is have this coherent message so that it really breaks through, right? Yeah. Yeah, we just have to translate it to Utah, right? Because what comes out of DC does not quite work here. Okay, so just to end, just to reinforce, right? If you're not a member of the party, we would appreciate you to sign up as a member. And with that, we're going to wrap things up because we have food, right? So much more exciting than me. So, okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, I have to adjourn. So with that, the Central Committee meeting is adjourned. And we will hopefully see you in our district blitz in December, and then we'll start committee meetings again in the new year after the filing gathering. Okay, thank you very much.